Iran is entering a period of profound political uncertainty as mounting public unrest exposes a widening gap between the ruling clerical establishment and a population increasingly disillusioned with its leaders. What initially appeared as scattered protests over economic hardship has evolved into a broader challenge to the legitimacy of the Islamic Republic itself, touching nearly every corner of the country and cutting across social, generational, and ideological lines. At the heart of the unrest lies a collapsing economy. The Iranian rial has plunged to record lows, wiping out savings and making everyday necessities unaffordable for millions. Inflation has surged, wages have stagnated, and unemployment, especially among young people, has reached alarming levels. For many Iranians, the struggle is no longer about political ideals, but about survival. The spark that reignited public anger came from Tehran's Grand Bazaar, a historic and symbolic hub of commerce that has long served as a barometer of social sentiment. When shopkeepers shuttered their businesses in protest against the currency's collapse and soaring prices, the message was unmistakable. Economic despair had reached a breaking point. From there, demonstrations spread rapidly to other cities and provinces, gaining momentum as grievances multiplied. While the scale of the current protests has not yet matched some of the largest uprisings in Iran's recent history, their persistence and geographic reach have alarmed the authorities. Demonstrations have erupted in both major urban centers and smaller towns, suggesting that dissatisfaction is no longer confined to a particular class or region. Students, workers, merchants, and the unemployed have all taken part, united by a shared sense that the system no longer serves their interests. Although economic hardship remains the most visible trigger, the unrest is rooted in deeper frustrations. Many protesters are voicing anger at what they see as the regime's misplaced priorities. As living standards deteriorate, significant national resources continue to be directed toward regional conflicts, military programs, and ideological projects that offer little tangible benefit to ordinary citizens. For a growing number of Iranians, this disconnect has become intolerable. Chants heard on the streets increasingly reflect a rejection of these priorities. Calls to focus on domestic welfare rather than foreign entanglements underscore a broader shift in public consciousness. The slogans are not merely complaints about prices or wages. They reflect a challenge to the ideological narrative that has defined the Islamic Republic for more than 4 decades. Generational change is intensifying this challenge. Iran's population is young, urban, and increasingly connected to the outside world. Many younger Iranians feel little attachment to the revolutionary ideals that shaped the state in 1979. Instead, they are driven by aspirations for personal freedom, economic opportunity, and normalcy. Strict social controls, political repression, and limited prospects have fueled a sense that the current system is fundamentally out of step with their lives. Women, in particular, have become powerful symbols of defiance. In several cities, visible resistance to mandatory dress codes continues despite the risk of arrest or violence. These acts, though often quiet and individual, carry deep political meaning, signaling erosion of the state's authority over everyday life. The government's response has followed a familiar pattern, a mix of limited acknowledgement and heavy-handed repression. Officials have conceded that economic pressures are real and have promised corrective measures, but such assurances have done little to calm public anger. Security forces have dispersed crowds, detained thousands, and imposed restrictions on communication, including internet slowdowns and shutdowns designed to prevent coordination among protesters. Judicial authorities have taken a particularly hard line, warning that those accused of inciting unrest or collaborating with hostile forces will face severe punishment. This framing of dissent as foreign-driven has long been a cornerstone of the state's narrative. Yet for many Iranians, such claims ring hollow, especially when protests are clearly rooted in domestic grievances that affect nearly every household. At the center of this turmoil stands the supreme leader, whose authority has long been the linchpin of the political system. While the leadership continues to project confidence, insisting that the state will withstand pressure, analysts note that the crisis is no longer just economic or political, it is psychological. Trust between the rulers and the ruled has eroded to dangerous levels. The timing of the unrest has compounded the regime's difficulties. Iran's regional influence has faced setbacks, and shifting dynamics in the Middle East have weakened some of the alliances and strategies that once bolstered Tehran's position. These developments have reinforced domestic criticism that foreign ambitions have come at too high a cost. At the same time, external rhetoric from abroad has complicated the situation. Statements of support for protesters by foreign figures, as well as warnings to Iranian authorities against violent repression, have heightened tensions. Many Iranians, while deeply dissatisfied with their government, remain wary of foreign intervention, recalling the devastating consequences of war, sanctions, and isolation. This tension reflects one of the defining contradictions of the current moment. Protesters demand change, dignity, and accountability, yet there is no unified vision of what should replace the existing system. Some seek reform from within, hoping for gradual change. Others call for more radical transformation, while a minority look nostalgically to Iran's pre-revolutionary past. This lack of consensus has so far limited the movement's ability to coalesce into a single political force. Still, the persistence of unrest suggests that underlying problems remain unresolved. Temporary crackdowns may clear streets, but they do not address the structural issues driving discontent. Economic mismanagement, corruption, political exclusion, and social repression continue to feed public anger. For the ruling establishment, the challenge is existential. Maintaining control through force alone risks deepening resentment and further delegitimizing the system. Yet meaningful reform would require concessions that could weaken entrenched power structures. This dilemma has trapped the leadership in a cycle of repression and unrest that grows harder to sustain with each passing year. Iran now stands at a crossroads. The current wave of protests may subside, as others have before, but the forces behind them are unlikely to disappear. A population that no longer believes in the promises of its rulers, combined with an economy under severe strain, presents a volatile mix. Whether this moment becomes a turning point or another chapter in a long history of suppressed dissent remains uncertain. What is clear is that the Islamic Republic faces one of the most serious tests of its legitimacy since its founding, a test shaped not by foreign enemies, but by the voices of its own people.